Yesterday, Dana White announced that Islam Makhachev is going to be vacating his lightweight title and moving up to welterweight to take on Jack Della Maddalena. And I've seen kind of some mixed opinions from MMA fans on this. Personally, I think this is a massive mistake for the UFC to let this happen, and I kind of just want to run through my reasoning in today's video. Now, I'm not going to say like him moving up, taking on JDM, the vacant lightweight fight, like these are still really, really strong matchups. But I think losing out on this Islam Makhachev Ilia Topuria fight is just a huge mistake. So that's really my first reason. Like I think the biggest fight the UFC could make right now was Islam Makhachev defending his lightweight title against Ilia Topuria. You have Islam Makhachev, who's widely regarded as the lightweight GOAT. You have Ilia Topuria, who has back-to-back KO wins against Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, two of the three greatest featherweights of all time. He's undefeated. He already committed to moving up to lightweight. This is not him like holding on to the 145-pound title, kind of hinting at moving up. He vacated that belt. He is now a lightweight. That fight was right there. And stylistically, I think Ilya has the power to potentially finish Islam Makhachev, where with everyone else at 155, it's tough to see them going out and actually beating Islam Makhachev. Ilya has that neutralizing power where if he connected on the chin of Islam Makhachev, he could have finished him. He could have potentially put him out. And like I said, like the Islam JDM matchup, the Ilya Oliveira fight, like these are great matchups. They're going to be fun. They're probably going to deliver, but they just don't even come close to comparing to a potential Islam Makhachev Ilia Topuria fight. And I think at this point, like we're entering potentially one of the biggest, if not the biggest, what if in MMA history. You look at some of the other big what ifs, you've got like GSP Silva, John Jones, but for those fights, right, they were never actively in the same weight class. Ilya was moving up to be a lightweight. Islam Makhachev was the champ, and the UFC is now missing out on it. I just think it's insane to not make that fight. And if he wants to move up that badly, then if he beats Ilya, you let him move up after one more title defense. My second reason why I'm pretty low on this, and I think it's a mistake, is that I think both weight classes are kind of thriving right now. At lightweight, you have a ton of guys in the mix for the title. You have Ilia Topuria, who I've already talked about. You have Arman Tsarukyan, the rematch with Islam Makhachev. You have the second Charles Oliveira fight. You have Justin Gaethje, which could be a fresh matchup. Already laid out the case for Ilya. For Arman, I know he just pulled out of the fight that, he was scheduled for, but he is 100% deserving of a title shot. And I know Islam already has the win, but like it was his UFC debut. If you wanted to make that case, you could say the same thing about Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards. See how that turned out. Leon won the second and the third fight. For Oliveira, I don't think he's super deserving of a title shot right now. He's obviously going to get pushed because of his, name value. He's a fan favorite, super fun fighter. But like I would always be interested in seeing the Islam Oliveira second fight. And then Gaethje, kind of a similar thing. I know some people were pitching for him to get a title shot. I don't see it, but he did earn that shot before he got knocked out by Max Holloway, and it's still a fresh matchup here with Islam Makhachev. And then at welterweight, the division had kind of felt flat for at least a few years. The Usman reign, it felt like the strength of schedule wasn't great for those, title challengers. Then the Leon reign wasn't all that entertaining. I think now there's kind of a changing of the guard at 170. You have Shavkat Rakhmonov, you have Sean Brady, you have Ian Gary making noise, you have Joaquin Buckley now in a main event against Kamaru Usman, you have Michael Morales main eventing this weekend. And I think like as we sit here today, both Sean Brady and Shavkat Rakhmonov are deserving of a title shot. I think Buckley with a win over Usman, I think you could make the case he's deserving just off of that win, especially if he, finishes him in impressive fashion. I think Ian Gary probably needs like one more big win. Morales, if he gets past Burns, which I do think he will, potentially like 1 to 2 more big wins. But you have a lot of guys in the mix here. Now, I do think lightweight is going to be fine. Like a vacant title fight with Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, like people aren't going to view either one of those dudes as like an undeserving champion, right? Oliveira was the champ, extremely popular. Ilia Topuria just ran through the featherweight weight class. If he goes up, wins the title at 155, people aren't going to view him as like some sort of fake champion. I think this is just much worse for the welterweight division because it is just really going to get clogged up here. And there was so much momentum. You had these young fighters being active, kind of setting themselves up for potential title shots. And it seems like that's just going down the drain. Like I think right now, Shavkat, Brady, are going to get passed over for title shots that they, do deserve. Now, Shavkat, I don't think he'd be healthy enough to be JDM's next opponent, but like keep in mind, he, pretty much earned the title shot, right? He was booked against Bilal. He went out of his way to take another fight against Ian Gary when he did not need to lock down that number one contender spot. And now we're in a position where even if he's recovering from injury, say Islam Makhachev gets that welterweight title shot, which I do think he will, then say they make a Sean Brady Ian Gary fight. Now you're looking at like the winner of that matchup is probably going to jump him. So he went from having the title shot to doing the UFC a favor to now getting put, potentially to the back of the line here. Just not a great spot. And then I also think there's just going to be limited incentive for a lot of these younger guys to take big fights. Because if the division is already so backlogged, like why are these guys going to take tough fights if it's not even going to result in title shots, right? Because at this point, like a Michael Morales, a Joaquin Buckley, like if they're already pinned behind these other dudes, there's just, not a ton of upside for them to take more fights when they're already probably locked out of title fights, for the foreseeable future. So that's the second big reason. And then number three, I just don't think this is like a slam dunk situation for Islam Makhachev to get a double champ shot. Now, looking at his resume, could he potentially get that opportunity? Sure. But I don't think this is like a set it and forget it situation where like he's 100% earned the opportunity to vacate, go up, get an immediate title shot. I think unless your name is Conor McGregor, there needs to be some sort of like cleaning out of the division, kind of clearing out all the top contenders. And that just has not happened in this spot. When we look at the two most recent examples of guys going up to try to win a second belt, now I will say these guys didn't vacate their titles, so a little bit different, but it does seem like the UFC is like trying to make it a rule that you can't hold on to both belts. But you have Alexander Volkanovski and Israel Adesanya. Volk had 5 title wins when he went up. Izzy had 4. Islam is currently at 5. So when we look at the number of title wins, like it could make sense for Islam to get that opportunity. I think the big difference here, though, is that the lightweight division is just in a very different spot than featherweight was with Volk and then how middleweight was with Israel Adesanya, where you just look at the guys who, could be deserving of a title shot. This weight class has not even been close to cleared out. You have Ilia Topuria with his resume deserving of a title shot. Arman Tsarukyan, pretty much had the opportunity for a title shot. I know he had to pull out with the injury, but still, like, he is still a very deserving contender. You can make cases for Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. When you look at Islam's 5 title wins, 2 of them came on short notice. The second Volk fight and then the Renato Moicano fight. And now this is not blaming Islam Makhachev, right? It is not his fault that Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan, who were more legit contenders, had to pull out. This is not on Islam Makhachev, but just when we're looking at his overall resume and the title wins, it's not like he went out and fought the number one contender 5 times and won. We just haven't gotten a lot of those matchups. And this is also a situation where Islam Makhachev didn't seem like he was totally set on leaving. Like if they told him you have to fight Ilia, I don't think he would have said like, I'm vacating the title and I'll go fight a contender at 170. Maybe I'm wrong, but it didn't seem like that was the case. Like if Bilal held the title and beat JDM, it seemed like he would have stayed down and defended the belts at 155. So I just don't really like this for either weight class. I think it bypasses the biggest possible fight the UFC can make. I think it clogs up the welterweight division, which was finally getting some momentum. And I do think it's a pretty huge mistake here from the UFC. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you guys like this move? Do you wish he would have stayed at 155? I also do want to make this clear. I am not blaming Islam Makhachev. If he has the opportunity to go up, win a belt in a second weight class, especially when the champ is kind of in like a vulnerable position, I think it makes a lot of sense for him. This is specifically directed at the UFC and them kind of letting this happen. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you all for stopping by. If you enjoyed, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.